All right, I think we're live. I think this is happening. Hey, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing, bringing you back for a slice of social media pie. And this is kind of a live, almost like a live podcast. We're kind of taking the best of a lot of different things that are out there. And I'm very, very excited because I've got a very special guest with me here today. Which way she? Michelle Raymond. Hey, Michelle, how are you doing today?
Don't make me try and point because I always get it wrong. So I'll just go like this.
Backwards, right? Yeah. And I'm feeling a little like, it's been a little while since I've done one of these interviews. I'm also doing the broadcast for my Meller Marketing page. So now what I'm trying to do, here's the share button. I'm trying to share it to my personal profile. So give me just a second to do that. And while I'm doing that, hey, everyone, I want to welcome you guys. If you're watching this right now, could you do me a favor? Could you leave a comment below and just let me know the feed is working and you can see it? And I'll just say, welcome to LinkedIn Live. And I'm just going to push this out to my personal page. I don't ever make mistakes. I have learning experiences. And part of my learning experience for today, Michelle, was it's been a little while since I've shared a live video while hosting a live video. So it's kind of like,
yeah, there's lots of buttons, right?
Right.
There's lots of buttons. And I don't think,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think that people realize that when you host a live, I think the perception is you just get up, you have a chat, and it all happens by magic. But the reality of it is there's buttons, there's comments, there's things, there's all kinds of stuff that you have to monitor. So let's do this.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too because you're trying to keep the audience engaged, You're trying not to look like
look at the camera, don't look at this.
So at any rate, I think this is live. It's a little bit of a different process today because I am live on my company page. And what a great segue to introduction for Michelle. It was like perfect. I had applied for company page, I don't know, a couple months ago. And it was one of those things, Michelle, it was like, I had the personal profile live for a while. And I kind of just, people kept saying you should apply for your company page. Like, okay, I'll apply. And I just did it once and that was it. And I kind of forgot about it. And then one day I got a notification in my email that my page was approved to go live. And I'm like, I'm already live on LinkedIn. And they didn't tell me which page it was. And it was like, okay. But then I went back into StreamYard and I realized now I had access to add in my Meller Marketing company page. So really great segue because if you guys don't know Michelle J. Raymond, I want to introduce you and have her talk a little bit about herself. So Michelle and I, we were talking about this in the pre-show. So Michelle and I, we were kind of like circling each other, not like sharks, like, but kind of, it's almost like toddlers have parallel play. They play next to each other, which is kind of playing with each other, but they don't play with each other. So Michelle and I kept, seeing each other popping up. And then I kept hearing people mention her name. And then eventually I visited her profile. And then I think I reached out and invited her to connect. And here's what I do when I find somebody else who specializes in LinkedIn. I did this with you, Michelle. I said, hey, nice to meet you, Michelle. How about we offer each other a LinkedIn strategy tip based on what we see on each other's profiles? And I can tell right away based on your response to this, if you're going to be the kind of person I want to connect with or not. Sometimes I get people saying, they just don't respond to it. I'm like, all right, there you go. And other people, they'll give you a tip without looking at your profile. And I'm like, this is what I do for a living. Let's spend a little bit of time, like just a quick, I'm like, I'll give you something of value if you give me something and you gave me something and I'll look back in the messaging to figure out what it was. But you gave me value. And then immediately we kind of like started building up trust with each other and we were on Clubhouse with each other. We now do a weekly event. And this is the first time we're talking live on video. So I am super excited. So Michelle, I've told about you. Why don't you tell a little bit about you and your business for those that are watching and aren't familiar with you?
Look, can I just tell you one thing? When you sent me that message, I didn't respond very quickly because I wanted to get the perfect tip.
Oh my gosh.
I knew it couldn't just be just like a run-of-the-mill tip that I would give to most people. I was like, no, I really want to impress her because I want to be friends and I want to be connected.
Aww,
so and I think that's the thing, right? Because you've got to build a trust there before these collaborations and things that we'll talk about down the path. We circle each other. It's a bit of a dance. It's like I was super nervous with anyone that had like LinkedIn trainer, LinkedIn expert, LinkedIn teacher, any of those kind of titles. The fact was, I loved, we share a passion and I wanted to join in, but then I was like, I don't want them to think I'm stealing their clients or out to steal their stuff.
Oh, no, yeah.
And I was super nervous, right? So, as Brenda introduced me, my name is Michelle J. Raymond. There's lots of cool Michelle Raymonds out there, but I'm the one with the J. I specialize in LinkedIn company pages, and my company, Good Trading Co., offers services like company page management and audits and strategies and things. So that's where my name normally gets mentioned. So, and I love hosting the Clubhouse rooms with Brenda every week. So we share a passion for Clubhouse, chats, and also company pages. So there's lots of C's today.
And when I invited you on, Michelle, I always, when I send out my invitation to people to join me, I kind of give them a little bit of overview. I'm like, you can pick the topic, pick anything that you want to talk about. And I always kind of put in there, one of the rules of LinkedIn Live is you're not supposed to talk about LinkedIn on LinkedIn Live. Now, I've never seen anybody get kicked out of it, but I've always tried to respect the rules of that. And I see a lot of people talking about LinkedIn and LinkedIn Live. So I don't know. I mean, they have a rule. They don't really follow it. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to be made an example of. So I'm like, let's pick something that's a little bit broader. And I'm sure LinkedIn will be weaved into the conversation. And I said, what do you want to talk about? And you said, let me pull this up on screen right now. This would have been perfect if I would have like really queued up at that point. Okay, there we go. The benefits of building a collaborative community with Michelle J. Raymond. So that was what you picked as topic. I'm like, oh, perfect. Because we're talking about, collaboration here. And I'm hoping our conversation helps to inspire others who are watching who maybe are a bit more reluctant to build their community with, quote unquote competitors. I like to say co-opetition, people who support you, who work categorically in the same light, because I think we can help and we can support and we can build upon each other. So tell us a little bit about the topic. How did you come up with the name? Why is collaboration important to you?
Look, for me, there's so much talk about the tools on LinkedIn, about creating content, about, all of these kind of other things within LinkedIn. But I think the actual benefits and the absolute gold of LinkedIn is actually when other people help each other to be better, and, for me, finding those collaborative relationships has made such a massive difference to me in the last 18 months. So, been using LinkedIn for around, 8 years or something like that. So, quite a while. Got LinkedIn under control. 18 months ago, set up my own business. Well, that's a whole other ball game. All of a sudden, I'm in, my own business, working from home. It's completely new field. I've never done it before. And I realized all of a sudden, I don't know as much as what I thought I knew. and so, I've relied on people, on the platform to really help me with, sometimes it's just to be my cheerleader. Sometimes it's to help me be accountable. Sometimes it's just to cheer me up and give me a spur on to keep me going. So, the powers are not just what people teach me about how to get the most out of platform, but it's also what they teach me about me and how to get the most out of my small business. And I just know that there's so many other people out there, COVID especially, like we're in lockdown here in Sydney, again, it's been all around the world. We've been through various stages of lockdowns. Yeah. And you realize when you're taken away from everyone, all of a sudden LinkedIn became this amazing platform where you could access people without leaving your home. And I don't think that point's lost on me about how amazing that this platform is for that kind of thing, the support and the community. So yeah, this is why I wanted to talk about it, because, you and I talk about company pages, we talk about LinkedIn a lot, but I think there's just so much more to LinkedIn than tools and tips and tricks.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's interesting you talk about, the demand for LinkedIn and how collaborating and connecting with people online has become so much more important because of the pandemic. It's also it's almost LinkedIn is almost a recession-proof way of networking, because when things are good, people are networking in person. But what are we doing? We're following up with people on LinkedIn. We're doing a research pre-event on LinkedIn. We're following up again, on LinkedIn afterwards. And even more so, it was kind of like, during the pandemic, because this is where all networking is now happening. This is where conversations are starting, and then they're moving off Zoom or phone calls or things like that. So it's such an important thing. I'm curious too, when you first started kind of collaborating within the community of, I'll call them kind of the LinkedIn strategist coaches, the rock stars, the people around, who were some of the first people that you connected with? and they're almost like the super connected. I'll just name one. You connect with like a John Esperian, for example, and he's like boop 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 boop. He'll like connect with like 12 more people, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this world existed. So who were those super connectors for you early on? Do you remember?
Look, the very first one was Karen Tisdall. Like, so she was the number one, and it actually came about because I challenged her to a duel. And so I'd been on the record about company pages, and she obviously is an expert in personal profiles. And then so I did a really funny video to reach out to her because we've been talking in the background, doing that dance, backwards and forwards. And she was like, "Who is this person? Where has she come from?" And then when I sent the video, which was hilarious, is one of my favorite things that I've ever done on LinkedIn, was just a challenge, and I called her out and said it's time for us to have a duel, and that began so much collaboration after that. We host LinkedIn lives every Friday and have like a Q&A session where we still don't agree on anything. And this is my favorite thing, is that we've actually made a thing out of our oppositeness. Is that a word? And and that was the first one, and then after that there was a few others that popped up. So the lovely Linaire in New Zealand was also another person that embraced me and helped me. And we're working on a secret project, which I'll tell you about coming up soon. But something, again, that I never thought in a million years I'd be capable of doing. And she reached out, and now we're working together. And we used the best of both of our skills. John Esperian, I don't have any words to describe how grateful I am for the connections and the help that this man has had. He is the most understated, I wouldn't say underrated, understated person, I think, about how much he helps people, whether it's a Friday shout out, whether it is just a let you know, a connections, his experiments. And, he's very humble about it, but I absolutely am grateful for, at first when we first start talking about company pages, and he's like, "You sure about that?"
Yeah, right. Well, he's one too. Like, you and I are kind of on the same boat. I mean, there's this whole debate. Do you get as much reach on personal versus company pages? And you and I are kind of both like, but maybe not. But there's a lot of other reasons that company pages can be really. I mean, it's a very concentrated area. I mean, you and I could, we're just like, we could, go back and forth.
Get sidetracked.
Right, exactly. But there are people like John Esperian and like Karen Tisdale and others out there who may not share our passion and enthusiasm for company pages, but respectfully, right? Yes. And we can have dialogue and conversation with those individuals. And you and I too, Michelle, I think, are of the same mindset that, and we're here talking about the power of having a collaborative community. We can disagree, but let's disagree respectfully. And let's disagree appropriately, because there's ways that you can disagree publicly that are disrespectful, either to the person's face or behind the person's back publicly, and there's ways that you can disagree, but let's understand that point of view is more of the approach. Like, I understand that you think company pages are great. I don't. Help me to understand, why, what I'm missing. But it's so great that there's this whole network of people out there, going back to this point of like these super connectors, this LinkedIn community of people. And now I know, like, Karen's in Australia, where you're located, right, Michelle?
Yes.
And speaking of, by the way, guys, I don't know if you were aware, but Michelle's like, this is like what, 11:19 at night where you are. It's still Monday, right?
It is. I turn into a pumpkin at midnight, so there's no going after midnight. I'm not a night owl. I'm an early morning person, so hopefully this is coming across okay. And I just wanted to mention Jeff Young as well, because oh my God, how much does that man give to this whole platform? And he's, sent people to me to speak about company pages, and he just gives and gives and gives to everybody. And there's so many people on different levels, though. Like, these are people that have been using the platform for a long time and very well known. But I have a bunch of people that I wouldn't call them LinkedIn people, but they're on LinkedIn. That's how I've met them. And they're super supporters that, do lots of work in the background. And, having those little superstars behind me is equally important to me, because, they're the ones that are always there consistently pressing like or giving me a comment here and there, or the DMs. Yeah, I like that. And they're the encouragers that keep you going, because I think when you're doing a business like social media, and it's really hard not to fall into the comparison trap. You've got this many followers, I've got that many followers, you've been doing it for this long, I've been doing it for that long, and you can get into such a mess in your head when you're first starting out. Like, I'm going to put my hand up. There are days where I've just gone, what am I doing? You know, because I've fallen into that comparison trap. And then there's been those people that are behind me going, Michelle, stop being stupid. Like, you're amazing at what you do. And they give you that nudge along. And, you know, I am just grateful for anyone that's part of that community. And again, this is why I wanted to talk about it today, almost as well, so we can acknowledge the people that help and contribute and support us to excel at what, you know, we're passionate about. So yeah, super grateful.
Yeah, I have to confess something, Michelle. So you're on my rockstar list, right? You're familiar because you're on it now, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I am. Am I? I hope I am, because that's like making John Esperian's Friday shout out. Like, you know, and it's not about the numbers, right? Can we just talk about this for a minute? Because it's not about the numbers. That list for you is not about the numbers, but it is, right?
I want to give you the backstory behind it.
Yeah, please.
I don't know if you know the full backstory or not. Let me just double check that you're on here. I'm pulling it up in the background, so I want to find your name on the list, because I'm pretty sure you're on here already. Okay, you're not, but maybe because you weren't at the 6,000 follower mark.
No, I think because so obviously, you know, what I've been through is a challenge, because I come from, you know, as I've told many people, the chemical distribution and specifically the beauty space. So if you ask about my name in that space on LinkedIn, I've been known for a long time. I own that particular niche. But when I moved out of that and into another one, it's like, who are you? Where's she come from? Who is this person that's all of a sudden talking about LinkedIn company pages? Because it almost felt like overnight, you know, and for me, some days it still feels like it's an overnight thing, but it's been an 8-year overnight success, you know, and so that's what people don't see.
So I feel
tell me about this.
Yeah, so I feel like for me, I've discovered you at the point where your star was starting to go shoo. And I get so lucky when I find people, you know, and I'm like, oh, I just discovered them. You know, I didn't discover you. You've been out there. You've been awesome all along. But so this is the Rockstar list. And I actually was inspired by John Esperian to create this. So years ago, this is probably 3, maybe 4 years back or so, he was, you know, John does tracking the data and then he reports out on data. And I'm like, how are you doing this? And he's like, it's just in Excel. And I started kind of looking at my competitors. I really wanted to grow what I was doing on the platform. And similar to you, I was really intimidated by the people that had 80,000 followers, 102,000, I mean, tons of followers. And I'm like, I can't keep up with that. But I can look at what their follower growth is. In the beginning, it was week over week. And I could kind of track, you know, if these people were growing at a 4% growth rate and I was growing at a 10% growth rate, eventually I was going to be able to accelerate higher, you know, in terms of follower count. So this to me helped to lower to flatten the playing field. It wasn't the absolute number of followers, it was the follower growth percentage in week over week. And I was doing this for probably 6 months initially, and just looking at, I just had this Excel spreadsheet, looking at it week over week. And then one time I published it, a la the John Esperian method, right? And I published my data, and then I was like, I don't know if people are interested, but here it is. And I think at the time there was probably 30 or 40, you know, LinkedIn trainers on the list. And I think I tagged a couple of them. I'm not sure, but people were like, wow, this is interesting. Thank you for tagging me. Thank you for including me. And they gave me other names, you know, names to include on the list. So I started doing that over time. And now it's 4 lists. It's once a month on a Saturday I publish it. And this is the LinkedIn trainer version of the list. So you're going to see this happening live right now. I'm going to add you in.
I love it.
It doesn't matter where I add you in at, because what's going to happen is once I do the calculations, it's going to sort you and put you in the right place. So I'm not really worried where you are in the list. And I always just copy the name right from the LinkedIn profile, so I don't have typos. Because as you saw, Miss Suchi over the weekend, I had a typo, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
I didn't want to be the typo Nazi, but I was like, I know Brenda wouldn't want to know.
A good friend will tell you when you have spinach in your teeth. And you told me.
That's Karen Hollenbach for me. Shout out to her as well, because she's the one that says, Michelle, like, what's that crazy little question mark you've got going on there? So, I think it's really cool that you created this list, because, you know, and thank you for including me on it. You know, it's such it's an honor for me. I'm not going to say it, because there's some really like cool people on there from a point of view that, you know, the common theme amongst all of them is that they're all givers. There's nobody on that list that's not a giver.
I try.
And
Sometimes they squeak in. And in the beginning, I was, putting together on my own, and then people would say, "Hey, can you add me in?" And then over time, and Jeff Young actually helped me with this. We created an acronym. What does a rockstar stand for? And it's
giving. He loves a good acronym.
Oh my gosh, great! And then it helped me as people were either asking to be added or nominating people. It was a criteria filter that I put them through. But now I don't accept self-nominations anymore, and that alone has kept some of the wrong people out because they get irritated when I say I don't accept self-nominations. I mean, all that means is somebody has to nominate you. That's all that means. So go find someone, put a little bit of effort. I mean, I'm putting a lot of effort into it. Go put a little bit of effort. Find someone who can. You can't find one person that's going to nominate you, or if you're being put out by me asking you, you're not the right person.
Look, absolutely. Like I get that. And so that was the kind of list when I was first starting out, when I, set my business up to jump into the LinkedIn trainer space. And, when I was looking outside, because I love to learn on LinkedIn. Like it is my favorite platform because the more I read, the more I learn, and about all kinds of topics, not just how to get the most out of LinkedIn. And so, being able to connect with people that could teach me about that stuff, and then I realized, oh, actually they're nice people as well. And they're not threatened by me, and we can learn from each other, and things that I have taught people even, and vice versa. And then you go, oh, I thought I knew it all, but you don't, right? Until you and I, every time that we have a Clubhouse chat room, we're both like, ching, light bulbs going off, and so, having those kind of people around me. And, I was really, really blessed that back in December, one of the people that reached out to me, and it was actually because of a comment I wrote on a Karen Tisdale post, is Michelle Griffin. And I need to tell anyone that's listening today that I wouldn't have the business that I have today without her support in the background. And this is my shout out to her to say, thank you for being that person that's on the end of a WhatsApp text that has helped me and shared her personal branding experience, and also just helped me get through those bumps that, come with setting up a business. So,
what's her name again? I'm sorry. I was pulling up
Michelle Griffin. So
so
based over in Florida. So she's on, on your side of the world, but my absolute, favorite person that behind the scenes, is a WhatsApp text away. It's so good to have people like that. And again, it's something that happened out of LinkedIn, and I've just learned so much from her. But more importantly, she's been, someone that supported me through things. So, that's another one of my shout outs. Am I limited to how many shout outs I can do today?
Because from this point of the interview to the end, just let's see how many shout outs we can do.
I love it.
Because why do I have your profile up on screen? I should be pulling up the profiles of these people as we're speaking about them. But I mean, this is kind of going back to, and if you're just joining us, we're here today talking about the benefits of building a collaborative community. I'm with my very special guest, Michelle J. Raymond, talking about this. And by the way, when you and I first met, I was like, I know her name's Michelle. I can't remember her last name. And she's like, Raymond. She's like, just like Raymond, like everybody loves Raymond. I'm like, and I remember that every time. I'm like, I remember Michelle Raymond. Everybody loves Raymond.
Everybody loves.
So we've got Michelle Griffin, and there's a couple other people I'm actually seeing in chat, and we'll probably start to move to that in just a second. So
awesome.
Let me just show, we've got John Esperian, the John Esperian, watching us here on our live broadcast. Let me pull his up as well. And it's interesting to see how many of us too have enabled some of the different features. You saw John's cover video. Get set up. I want to go back to your profile, and then we'll keep going. Because I don't know if you just changed this or not, but where it says company pages work there, I said it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. Did you just change that, or has that been on there for a while?
I have changed it recently, but it's my headline that keeps getting me far more attention. I make sad LinkedIn pages feel special. I got to tell you, I changed that recently based on a conversation I was having with someone at the back of a Clubhouse chat room that I'm a part of as well on another night. And it was something I said in passing, and they're like, that is your new headline, Michelle. And ever since I put it, like it does what a headline should do. And that's, grab some attention and let people know kind of what you do. So but it's, I have so many conversations around company pages now. What does make it work mean? That's a whole other conversation we'll save for another day. But for today, I am like, can I just say I am loving this. We get to just shout out to all the cool people. Like, are we?
Yes. Like maybe they'll hear us. Maybe not. But, even if they don't, it's and I'm tagging people in the
Love it.
Live feed. I can't talk right now. Coffee's not kicked in yet. I'm tagging them in the live feed as we're talking about them. So hopefully they'll get the notification.
Love it.
And I almost look at, I know you've done a lot of live videos too, Michelle, but I look at the live videos as, we're not going to get as many people watching live. You'll get more people in the playback. That's my approach. Is that the same with you, or what's your approach to the live?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it, that people can consume content at a time that works for them. And that's the difference between, as a sales rep in the past, I was making appointments to try and squeeze into people's busy work days when they already had more than enough to keep them entertained of their own internal stuff. And then so now what I love about this is that they can watch at a time that works for them. Now, whether that's after homeschooling's finished, that's a big problem. I know that there's a lot of the schools around the world seem to be going back to school today. I know there's a bit of that in the US and Europe. But once people are back at school or late at night or early in the morning, on the weekends even, people get to play catch up and consume when they want, which isn't always the best time to post on LinkedIn, right?
That's true. But what's interesting is, when people ask the question, when's the best time to post on LinkedIn? You might give one point of view, I might give another. And really, it really depends on where your audience is and when they're watching. But then also, I posted something last night. I posted one of my best performing posts of all time. It was Friday night at 11 o'clock at night. Like, who would think you're going to be on LinkedIn? And I was kind of like, I did the same thing yesterday. I was so late in putting the post up. But I'm like, nobody's going to read this on a Sunday night. And it got a lot of engagement. And because I think because we're international, right? We're all watching from all over the world now.
Like, as much as I know John's going to kill me because it was a poll that performed really well, but it's my best ever performing post. And I did it yesterday. So Sunday, my time at lunchtime is Europe's asleep. The US is almost asleep. Australians should have better things to do than be on LinkedIn on a lunchtime on a Sunday, although maybe lockdown helps a little. But essentially I couldn't leverage off my networks, which are, in those other two pockets. Yeah. And this thing just went crazy. And I'm finding actually weekends are working better for me just in general than during the weekdays at the moment. And that wasn't always the case. It was typically let's call it the Tuesday to Thursday from 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. was my audience's favorite times. Doesn't really work anymore. And I am plugging all kinds of different times trying to work out what's going on. And funny enough, the weekend seems to just keep popping up. So whether I think people aren't traveling to and from work in the traditional times that they used to do. Maybe they're just going back to the office a couple of days here and there. Some people, like here in Australia, they're doing full-time jobs, homeschooling, and trying to manage life in amongst that. And I think LinkedIn's like, I'll get to that at some stage.
Right.
It's not the traditional time slots, because I think the routine's gone out the window. I don't know how it impacted you guys, but I would say right now the routines are just not what historically you could have counted on. So
there's definitely, I think for everyone, it's challenging in different ways too, depending on if you live alone, if you don't live alone, if you have children, if you don't, I think what's happening in the community and we're, I'm in Michigan in the United States, and we had we had a couple peaks last year. We're kind of looking around. Delta variant is coming. And it's starting to roll up a little bit, but it's based on, I think, what's happening in the community as well. And the stress levels are kind of fluctuating too. But I know you guys are back in lockdown now, right?
Yeah, we are. And
for the foreseeable future, or what's the
let's just say that. So it's the first time we've really had to deal with it as a state here in New South Wales, where I am in Sydney. And what you find all of a sudden is you realize when people are taken away. So, when the restaurants are closed and, I can't see my friends or I can't see my family or in-laws that are at an aged care facility, when you take all of that away, the online community all of a sudden becomes a godsend, because you need that interaction from other people that you just typically would get when you go to work.
Right.
And if that's out the window, like, what do you do? So, and I think that's part of why LinkedIn has grown so much in the last, 18 months. Is it 774 million that we're up
I was
to
just
at
thinking,
last
I'm going to
count?
pull up the number right now. So this is what I do when I'm trying to look it up. I don't know about you, Michelle. I go to about.linkedin.com.
There you go. I've learned something new. There you go. Never been to it. So love it.
This is officially where they publish it. At least that's what I've seen. And I'm going to drop this into the chat right now in case people are watching. Like, where do they get that link?
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally they'll publish new numbers when they're in, press releases or comments or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I've seen the Microsoft reports that, release those quarterly and have those kind of numbers where they say, we've just had the biggest, $10 billion, and most of it's come from LinkedIn ads.
Right. So. Yeah, right. It's focused on the revenue side, right?
Yeah.
But right now they're saying 744 million plus members, and I'm putting this on screen as well in case you can't see that.
Yeah, 774 it is. It's actually bigger. Like,
sorry,
so those, that's okay. You're doing 10 things at once. I got you covered.
Hold on.
I got you covered.
There you go.
And that's the thing, right? 774. I can't even speak. 774 million. That's a lot of people competing for the same space on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, that is. And did you guys notice how subtly Michelle pointed out my learning experience, my mistake? It wasn't like, oh, Brenda, you made a mistake. That's terrible. Can't you read? What's your problem? She was like, oh, I think it's 774. It was like a little gentle nudge. And this is just exactly how Michelle is. She's so supportive. She's so collaborative.
Brenda, I have been in that driving seat. I know how many buttons you're pressing right now. If anyone has compassion and empathy for you in that role, it is me, because there is, like, if you see Brenda going like this,
right.
It's not because she's not as good on a LinkedIn Live as what I am. It's because I have to just sit here and talk. That's my job.
So. You just reminded me when you were looking down. I have to do one of these too. I haven't done one of these yet. There we go. Because that's going to go into the LinkedIn stories, and then maybe on my Insta and stuff later too. So it's like,
are you loving them? Are you loving stories? Tell me, what's your thoughts?
I take what I can get out of them, and I contribute where I remember to. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for stories, and it was actually interesting. A while back, I was highlighted, quote unquote, in LinkedIn stories by the team that's doing some marketing. The agency is working for LinkedIn, and I don't know that it was. I guess I was expecting a little bit of a different reach perspective from it. And I just feel like there's so much opportunity within stories on LinkedIn, but there's some limitations, and you and I both know we can't see stories on the desktop. So, and if you don't have access to them, you can't see them. So there's just a lot of hurdles to jump through. And I don't know about for you, but when I go into LinkedIn, I'm not like on Instagram, I'll scroll a little bit and then I'll look into stories. On LinkedIn, stories is really an afterthought for me. I don't intentionally look at them every time. And usually the only way I'm using stories is for myself. Very rarely do I see somebody coming up in the first like 4 or 5 that I know. How about for you though? Do you use it differently? Do you find value in those?
You know how I'm a little crazy and I'm going, hard on company pages. I'm also going the same on LinkedIn stories. Maybe I'm just a contrarian or something. And the only reason is that I've been playing around with them again. I experiment in a slightly less formal way than what John does. But I like to play around and see what works, what doesn't. What I've noticed is, number one, it's so much easier to stand out in stories because there's it's gone up in numbers, probably around 30 or so that I see. Going back like 2 months, I was lucky to have 10 stories across the top of the screen. So I was like if I go now, I've got a 1 in 10 chance for 24 hours for people to see me and my face sitting at the top. So if you've got your mobile, if you don't know what a story is, go onto your mobile and have a look at the top of the screen and you see all the little profile pictures that you can click on and see the stories. Now I played
see that if you have access to it, or can anyone see that now?
Everyone's got access to it. It's just on mobiles. Yeah. So it's not an access thing. It just, what will happen is it does disappear if you're not using it as much. And sometimes it just disappears for no reason and then comes back the next day. So there is a few like clunky, weird things, like when you add stickers, it might shut down the whole thing. So I think there's a few bugs. I noticed LinkedIn's bought a company, I think it was called Jump Rope, that is all about how-tos and go-tos and short videos. and they've bought that company. So I'm hoping that's another sign, as well as the integration with Canva, that these things are coming in to make stories more user-friendly. Now, at first I used to go, oh my God, I can't get any engagement on these things. Like, how do you make them work?
Right.
Now I would say on average, I probably get around 45 views. Now, in the big scheme of the world, is 45 views a big deal? No, not by anyone's measure. But if I look at it and said, if I got 45 comments on a post, I'd be super happy,
That's
like
true.
right? Now, the difference being, I know everybody that's looked at it. Now it's up to me to then reach out to those people and actually build that relationship. And so it's highlighting a completely different audience. They're not people that I expected. It has been so weird. I'm going to put my hand up. I pigeonholed it to be Instagram users who I picture in my mind, mostly female. Let's call them 20-ish to 35, 40-ish. That's a pretty big broad, but that's where I thought it would sit. When I come onto LinkedIn, it's not that. It is so weird. It's mostly males in my particular thing. And I would say, I wouldn't think that my followers are skewed in any way along those lines, probably more female than male. But actually what happens is it's a whole different audience who never comment on my posts, who never like my posts, the lurkers or observers, as we typically call them.
Right. Readers. I like to call them readers. Right?
Like whatever you want to call them, the people that aren't interacting on a daily basis, but are logging in every day to see what's going on. That's who you get to see, that are using on stories, that I actually thought most of these people, I didn't even know. So I'm now going out and building those relationships again, because I'm going, oh, I've been ignoring you. And back to this collaboration thing that we're talking about. Collaboration is not just with LinkedIn trainer to LinkedIn trainer. It's, all kinds of other people that we find in every which way on LinkedIn. So, and stories are just another way that it's easier to track who's looking, who, not necessarily engaging. I don't get a lot of people reaching out, DMing or commenting or anything like that on the stories. It's more an observing type situation as well. But again, it's up to me to keep reaching out once I've noticed that and messaging people, which they make really easy to do off stories. So
that's true. And I'm kind of pulling up, there was a way I figured out how to do this on a Zoom. I don't know how to do it in a LinkedIn Live. Is there a way I can share my mobile screen in a LinkedIn Live?
This is where we need Seb.
Let's put Michelle on the spot. This will be something that I'll try to troubleshoot before my next call. But look, there is a way. I don't know if I can hold. Let me try holding my screen up, my phone up to the screen here. And
almost.
I gotta wait for it to.
Yeah, so there. Stop there.
The
yep.
Paper airplane off to the side is where I could message. So right now I see Anna Andrush, who, by the way, is watching us live, and I just posted this in stories, and I could just send her a quick message, and I could say, "Thanks for watching." And she'll probably know what I'm talking about because she's watching us, on LinkedIn Live. But I wouldn't say thanks for viewing my story, because that's kind of creepy, right? Like,
no, and that that was my
right?
That was my poll yesterday. Do you connect with people who have viewed your profile? And when I received those messages, you viewed my profile. Like I find those creepy as well. So just a reason that they're top of mind. That you can reach out and connect, and just have those conversations. That's what we're talking about, having conversations, building communities and collaborating within those communities. And it can be just because you like the person, that they make you laugh, that they entertain you. They can, I know that I've had some friends within the platform that have found people that are good at TikTok, for instance, that are venturing onto LinkedIn, and, they want to venture onto TikTok. And so just, all kinds of collaborations can happen. So yes. So
I just pulled your poll up on screen, and I just kind of tagged it in comments too for people that are watching the playback. And by the way, Michelle, this is on LinkedIn on my company page on Meller Marketing, and I shared it to Brenda Meller. I'm not sure how much reach we'll get, but we'll see. And then it's on Facebook on the Meller Marketing page, and I'm mentioning this for anybody else who's watching. And then it's also on YouTube. So later on in the YouTube, I'll go back in and I'll put timestamps for the people that we've mentioned, and also for the posts or the links that we've mentioned to make it a little bit easier for people. But this is a great example of, I know there's people that are very passionate about their love or hate for company pages on LinkedIn. And there's also people that are very passionate about our like or dislike of polls on LinkedIn. And I brought you in on a conversation. Actually, I think it was about the rockstar list yesterday. Somebody was critiquing adding their point of view, and I, graciously thanked them for joining the conversation because it helps to bring more people to view my post and to view the rock stars. And I get different points of views on the rockstar list. I mean, it's the Meller marketing LinkedIn rockstar list, you guys. It's not the Microsoft or LinkedIn official, top LinkedIn trainers. It's the Brenda Meller list. Nobody is sponsoring it. Nobody's endorsing it. If you don't like it, you can make your own, really. Or just scroll on past. If you don't like it, just scroll on past. You can unfollow me, you can block me. But if you're going to jump in and critique it, I'm going to reply back. Not for you.
Keep on walking.
Not for you, because haters going to hate, Taylor Swift, right? But
I love you're a Swiftie. Can we just back up there? I am too. Love it.
But when I see somebody, commenting, I don't comment back for you because you don't feed the trolls. I comment back for the rest of my community, and it also helps me to test my personal brand. And I'm going to hold my head up high. I'm not going to sink down to that level. And I'm going to say, thank you for stopping to leave a comment. You could have just scrolled on past, but instead it meant so much to you that you left a comment, which, by the way, is helping to broadcast it to your network, which, by the way, is helping me to reach more people with my posts. So thank you so much, and have a lovely week. Truly, truly.
Cheers.
Cheers. So Michelle, I'm just looking up at the time, and our time is flying fast, and I know it's quarter to midnight where you are right now. I was trying to get to the end of the day here. I want to just give a quick scroll through of our audience comments and let you know who's been watching. So we saw John Esperian was on earlier. I'm not sure if he's still there, but he is, he's admitting, not the biggest advocate, but he understands. I think he's around.
Warming to them.
We brought him over, right? And he's actually, I've noticed growth in his company page as of late. So I think you and I can take a little bit of credit for that, Michelle. Right?
Yeah.
John, if you're watching, just kidding.
And again, it's the Michelle and Brenda list, and we're allowed to say that John's warming to them because he's not here. And
Right. Michelle Griffin is watching, and Michelle, hello to you. Let's see here. Great to have Michelle on at our time. So is Michelle Griffin in your part of the world?
No, she's in Florida. So she's
sorry. She meant my
time. Almost gotcha. Your time zone. I can never keep up with who's in which one over there. So yeah, she's on your time of the world. But normally what happens is have my LinkedIn lives on Friday lunchtime, my time. And that's like, the equal opposite for you guys. Like so I have heaps of friends in the US that I'm either catching them at our 6 a.m. What is it when we have our Clubhouse? That's 3 o'clock in the afternoon for you? Is it 4?
Time.
4, right?
Afternoon, and it's 6 a.m. your time. So yes. Well, I've got to I've got to get like a wall that has like clocks, like what time of day is it where Michelle is, where John Esperian is. Like I've got to get the clocks going.
Like the airport.
Exactly. So let's see what else. Michelle agrees with us about stories potential, but I think there's some opportunity for some enhancements. Make them more like real so we can really use them. Desktop, I agree. Would love to have them on desktop, right?
Yeah, and look, so many people are making these stories on Instagram or on TikTok and bringing them across and uploading them onto LinkedIn, because the fact is, like, the ones that you can do on LinkedIn are pretty boring and not a lot of fanciness that you can do to them. So that makes them not quite so interesting. So yeah, I'm with Michelle on that one. So
maybe the folks from LinkedIn will listen to us eventually.
I don't think that they will.
That's true.
I think it's, there's a lot of things that they could be doing. Shout out, dear LinkedIn, if you're listening to this, could I please have an inbox that works for DMs that I can manage? Thank you, Michelle.
I don't know how about you? How many messages you
get? What would you ask for?
There's that one in there that you want to respond to, and then it gets buried, and then the person reaches out 2 weeks later and says, "Do you not need clients? Because I want to pay you. Like I want to work with you." And I'm like,
so if you had to ask the LinkedIn fairies for one thing to change on the platform, what would you ask for? What's your Christmas wish?
Them to put together. I'm not even going to change one thing on the platform. I'm going to suggest they put together a focus group or a committee of people who are heavy LinkedIn users, aka LinkedIn trainers, coaches. Hint: look at the LinkedIn Rockstar list to pull those people from, and get us together once a month and put a topic on the table and say, how could we improve this? Or what is your experience with this feature? And then whether it's a video call or a Clubhouse chat or a messaging chat or a Zoom call where we can I don't care. Get the feedback. We want to see the platform working more successfully. And I feel like a lot of times when we think the platform should zig, it zags. And we're like, well, that doesn't work at all. I wish that, and maybe there are some people, but I don't know. I think there's a huge opportunity. And if that's the one change I would make, would be to have an ambassador group that's non-LinkedIn employees, and don't pay them for it. Just ask out of the goodness of our hearts, do you want to contribute? I feel like there's I want to keep us moving though here, Michelle. You and I do this. We'll get off on tangents, and then 10 minutes will go by and I'm like, midnight. So LinkedIn user, this person right here, I'm going to put a little comment in here. You're either getting the face avatar, the gray avatar, either because you don't have your account opened up, it's really locked down private, or you don't have the third-party integration. There's 2 ways I figured that out of getting that enabled. Michelle, is that your experience too? Or?
Yeah, that's right. It's enabling third-party apps to be able to see your details. So because we use StreamYard to stream into LinkedIn Lives, you need to enable that security setting is the typical one that I've found.
So I'm trying to figure out if I can see from the company page view who this person is.
So what will happen is you'll be able to see who it is. If we have a look straight into LinkedIn, you'll be able to see them, no problems, typically. But we can't see them because we're looking at the comments via StreamYard. So
it's Sean O'Neill.
Sean comes to my ones on Fridays as well. I'm pretty sure it's the same Sean O'Neill.
Yep.
Same problem. So we end up talking to dear LinkedIn user while everybody else that's watching it live on LinkedIn is going, why are they calling him LinkedIn user? It's because he's in disguise.
Well, it's because of the StreamYard, because of the third-party integrations. And
that's
obviously
right.
It's not his LinkedIn profile because I can see his photo. It's properly loaded on there, but just a little side, strategy tip for folks.
Always.
Goes off. So Michelle, let's start to wrap up our conversation here today. I know you have to kind of come off of your LinkedIn Live high, right? And
I know, right? But I get so excited. It's like when we do Clubhouses, I'm like, I'm just getting warmed up, and there goes 2 hours.
I know. Well, and that's the power of having a conversation that really feels collaborative, conversational, and not forced. Not like you're going, oh my gosh, how much? It's like a dentist appointment. When do I get out of this chair? This is painful. I want out. So let me pull up a couple things up on screen for folks here. And the first is, we showed your profile. I want to kind of ask, are you open to receiving and accepting new invitations? And then any tips for people if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, and I'm definitely open to connect, even though I have the follow first button set. It's only so I can use links in stories and some of the other features that LinkedIn makes you have the follow first button. So please, if you want to connect, I absolutely accept them, welcome them, enjoy them, look forward to conversations that we can have. I'm not precious around it. This is, if there's something that has intrigued you in our conversation tonight and I'm not connected with you already, then, I'd love it if you reach out. So that would be awesome.
All right. And there's your personal profile. Now I want to go to your company.
It is.
LinkedIn. Hold on. I'm going to try to pull this up in the screen. I'm trying to do the navigation thing.
Look at you go. You're all over it. Look at her go.
Oh, wait. That's your personal profile. Let's go to the company page.
That is.
If I just click on the logo.
Winner.
Click on the logo again. There we go. There's your company page on LinkedIn. Let's pull that up on screen as well. So that's your personal. Here's your company page. And when you guys go to her company page, give it a follow. I do this for company pages for people that I support and or for products and services I'm interested in. And there's a lot of great content on this page too. So don't neglect the company pages. And especially this company page, don't neglect it, because Michelle's posting great content on here. So here's a little fun fact. A month ago, you said LinkedIn is encouraging company page admins, and that's probably when I applied to apply for LinkedIn Live. And then she's got, it looks like, is this a video?
So that is an instructions. It's a written one. So my style of learning is actually, I love to read instructions. And so when people ask me, how do I do stuff? I give them a pretty comprehensive guide that you can read and follow step by step with screenshots. Just because as we've discussed in some bits here today, LinkedIn Live, not as simple as just press the button, turn up and just start talking. There's work that goes on in the background of the setup, and there's 6 different ways that you can actually run an event. So, you know, it's worth doing a bit of investigation before you jump on and then realize, uh-oh, no one's here. Why aren't there any comments? Been there, done that. So I've made the mistakes. I share with you so you don't have to.
That's what I tell people. It's like, they're not mistakes, they're learning experiences, and letting, you know, come along with me, and I'll bring you along my journey so you can learn by watching me and not making the same mistakes. And then the final thing I want to do is I want to just pop up your website on here. I love the beach scene at the beginning of your website, by the way. It's like so calming.
It should be relaxing. You know, LinkedIn doesn't have to be stressful, you know, and I just wanted it to be something that when you came and had a look, that if you're a small business or a medium business that's got a lot on your plate and LinkedIn's just another one of those things, I didn't want it to be overwhelming. So yeah, I like to keep things simple. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks for showing off all of those things for me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And any closing comments before we wrap the conversation here today, Michelle?
I just want to say thank you for being a super awesome human being that's, you know, invited me on here. Congratulations on your first LinkedIn Live from Meller Marketing. So, you know, and again, like, you know, I love that you tested up front whether I was the kind of person that deserved to be a part of your network, because I think it's just as equally important and valuable to be, you know, like a bit, I guess, what's the considered
Selective?
About who you invite in. Yeah, selective, considered. Yeah, I think that's the right word. And, you know, and I think the value of your network and because, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know when you sleep, because I see how much you're giving and giving and giving and giving and what you're creating for your business. And I am absolutely in awe and think that you're doing a cracking job. And on behalf of everybody else that's like, you know, benefiting from all the work that you're doing, often unpaid, it's a, you know, a lot of volunteering goes into, you know, the giving to, you know, receive. But yeah, thank you, Brenda, for putting this one on and letting me be a guest. And, you know, I love our clubhouses, and yeah, like it's just been awesome. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Michelle. It's been really great to get to know you. I'm glad that we had this chance to do this live. And, you know, I was kind of testing out on my company page. I didn't get as much reach, even though I knew I wasn't going to get a lot on the company page. I mean, I'm looking at the viewership and it's really tiny. So I would love to invite you back to come on my my profile on a LinkedIn Live sometime, because I think we could definitely
for sure.
Conversation. And I'm curious too. Do you do lives on your company page and on your personal profile, or how do you manage?
So I've tried both. So I actually do my lives to events, not necessarily to my pages.
Okay.
So just to add in an extra bonus. So you've got the choice of doing it to your page, to your company page, or your personal page. And then there's events. And so you've got events that you can run through either of those. And then the next level is registered or not registered. And so I've tried them all. And there's fors and against. It depends how much effort you want to put into inviting people, which is why I do events mostly. But the trade-off is a registered event or an invited event actually takes a lot of effort in the background, you know, but how many people turn up? Typically a bit more. But again, if you're not going to follow them up, you know, on a regular basis, or don't have the capacity or bandwidth to be able to get to all of that, then I would suggest that just running it out of your profile. I found, like you, running it out of your profile without inviting and registering, you get a better return. So, but everything comes down to, you know, what's the goal? You know, you've got to start with the goal and then work backwards, because on a company page, if you register and you can download that email list, if people have given permission for privacy, you can really grow your email list, you know, for other reasons, if you've got, you know, newsletters or things like that. So again, not ever a one size fits all, right?
My last question for you. I know I'm like,
sure.
Oh, I gotta get one more question.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not a pumpkin. You got 2 minutes.
And Michelle, you're such a giver too. And I remember, you know, when we first really started supporting, working with each other, and we started asking questions, we're like, oh, she's a LinkedIn junkie just like I am, you know. And I was like, we would start to throw questions back. And I remember seeing one of your posts. It was talking about you could do a live stream from Zoom to LinkedIn without using StreamYard. I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. So I know you're a heavy user of these live videos, and it looks like the live videos sit on your company page in the videos tab, right?
Yes.
So that's like, I think right there, that's a benefit of
absolutely
broadcasting live to your page, as opposed to like on my personal profile on LinkedIn, where does it go? It kind of floats out into the ethernet. It's in the activity feed, but you got to keep scrolling and scrolling unless you like save the post and you can bookmark it for later. So that would be one of the benefits. So you got to kind of outweigh the benefits of that convenience. You can find it later with the and there's no limit to this too, right? Because the video
That's right.
10 minutes and we've already been on for an hour just about, and it's still sitting there. So
that's right.
I mean, like a lot of this is just testing out, and now I just learned something. So if it's a longer video, sit it on the page, right?
And this is what happens is where you start to go, you know, for those people that are so anti company pages, if you do a lot of video, you know, having that video on your company page with the video tab, that is second to none anywhere else on LinkedIn. So that's something that I would definitely consider, and having that, you know, these kind of lives sit there, easy to find. And again, you know, there's some more filters that are coming through that makes life a bit easier on your company page. And if you're creating content, when it disappears into the abyss, it's that recall. Because, you know, you've put an hour, you know, say it's, you know, there's two of us here today, but when you do your own, like you've put an hour of time, that's a significant chunk of time out of your week. And when I know that you're doing so many other things, to have it somewhere that people can go back and view at another time that's not off platform like YouTube. I think you send yours to Facebook as well. Is that right? It goes to
because I have the version of StreamYard that allows me to do 3. So I just picked Facebook to my business page because it's public versus my personal profile's locked down, and then YouTube because it's the video shelf where everything sits. So, you know, just
yeah, that's the trick, right? And so with LinkedIn, you only get the choice of do you want to, you know, at the moment, you can only stream to one of the choices on LinkedIn. So you either have to pick an event, you have to pick a profile, or you have to pick your page. You know, you don't get it would be great. How cool would it be if you could go to all of them, or both profile and company page?
You can broadcast to an event. Can you do that from StreamYard, or how do you?
Yes. StreamYard, that's right.
You can pick the event. Or are you talking about when you first schedule it?
Yeah. So so LinkedIn's rolling out changes so that you can create StreamYard, create your time and events, and then it will automatically create an event in LinkedIn for you. Now, that isn't rolled out to everybody as yet. So in StreamYard, what you do is you actually, when you first come into the first screen, on the left-hand side, there's 2 menus, and one of them says destinations. And what you do is you click on destinations. You have to create the event as a destination first. And then, the process is actually create event in LinkedIn. Go to StreamYard, click on destinations, create that event as a destination. And then when you set up your broadcast, you select where it's going to. So you select YouTube, Facebook Business, and one of your LinkedIn places, and you'll choose the LinkedIn destination as the event. So it takes a little bit of extra work, and LinkedIn's taking that step out. And also the other thing that they're doing is they're allowing you to schedule things more than a week out, because it's really frustrating that you can only have an event a week out and not do really any kind of promotion for a LinkedIn Live. So now that that's rolling out, and I think it's almost unlimited. I can't remember the actual thing, but it actually gives you a long time that you can do promotions, so you can have more people turn up, right? Like that's the joy of this, is to, you know, the more that can jump into the comments and keep this thing going, how like the energy is just great. So
all right, I'm gonna really wrap us this time, because I've already I kept asking questions and we can keep going, but this is a little reminder.
Save them for Clubhouse. I'll answer that.
I was going to say that. So join us on Clubhouse. We're every in the US, it's every Tuesday from 4 to 6. In Australia, it's Wednesday morning, right? 6
That's right. 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. on Wednesday mornings.
Yeah, and I'll drop the link in the video comments later, so people can follow it and find that event. But just look up the Thought Leadership Branding Community on Clubhouse. You can find the event. All right. So as we wrap here today, I want to invite the audience. If you enjoyed the conversation, I'm asking a little bit of a favor for you guys. If you enjoyed this conversation, once you're done watching the video, I'd love it if you could click to share the video along. This counts as your post for today in LinkedIn. So if you're struggling with, I don't know what to post on LinkedIn, share the video along. And then when you share it, give us like a 1-liner or a 2-liner and just say something simple. Just finished watching this great video featuring at Michelle J. Raymond, tag Michelle, of Good Trading Co., tag her company page, and at Brenda Meller of at Meller Marketing, tag me and my company page. And here are a few of my key takeaways. And then just summarize a couple things that you learned. And it kind of reminds me of school. When you finish reading a book, the teacher would say, what did you learn about reading the book? And it causes you to pause and reflect upon new knowledge that you've gained. So I'm challenging those of you watching this, click the share the video, share 1 or 2 items that you learned. It's going to help you to remember those items, and it also helps to broadcast it out to your network. Michelle, this has been a delight. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. We'll do another LinkedIn Live here in the future on my personal page. And in the meantime, I will look forward to seeing you on Clubhouse. Thank you again, and have a good evening, Michelle.
It's been fabulous. And thanks for taking all the controls. You did an amazing job on the fly. So yeah, thanks. It's been super cool. And thank you to the community, and get out there and collaborate. That's what this is about.
Absolutely, guys. All right, everybody. Well, have a great week, and we will see you all on LinkedIn. Take care, everyone. Thank you.